Welcome to Simple Local Life, everyone. It's Jen. I am here today at Earth Angels Home Care in Bridgewater, and I am really pleased to introduce our special guest today. I just want to say hello and introduce everyone to Karen Brown. How are you, Karen?
Just great, thanks. Glad to be here.
Oh, well, I'm so happy to have you here. So Karen is going to share with us a little bit of the story of her journey as a caregiver, really, for her husband, Wally, who has Alzheimer's. And I heard so much positive feedback. Karen was the keynote speaker at the Alzheimer's breakfast they held here recently in Bridgewater, and the feedback from that was just tremendous, Karen, on the talk that you shared. So we're really happy to have you here with us today and answering some questions and just sharing your story about being the caregiver for your husband. While we're watching, if you guys have any, while you're watching, if you have any questions around the role of being a caregiver for your loved one, around support or self-care or anything like that, by all means ask away, and we'll do our best to get those answered here while we're live. So how are you doing today?
Just great, thanks.
Good.
Thanks.
Now, I just wanted to start, Karen, just kind of at the beginning, I guess, when you first heard that your husband had Alzheimer's. Can you kind of share a little bit about that with us?
Yes. Well, when he was diagnosed, it was probably at least 5 years after we noticed changes happening to him.
Okay.
They were very subtle, and we knew things had changed because when you live with somebody for 50 years, you know if there are changes in your lives. He was very aware of it too.
Okay.
So we did have interruptions in that we were without a doctor for twice for a period of year and on each time, and that delayed us getting a whole lot of stuff done. But we eventually got involved in the Nova Scotia Alzheimer's Society, and they were able to make a referral to a geriatrician on our behalf.
Wonderful.
And that was a great blessing for us. And the ball started to roll very quickly once they were involved, and we had a series of MRIs, MMEs, everything, CAT scans, blood tests, anything that might mimic Alzheimer's, and there are many things. So we went through all of that, and then not long after, wasn't a long time at all, we were called into our geriatrician, and she told us what she had discovered. And it was an awful feeling. It blew me out of the water, and our daughter was with us, because it's important that you have somebody to accompany you to all of these appointments and tests.
Good tip.
And she was a wonderful resource to us. So when I heard it, I had an idea of what was ahead of us. But in one way, it was relief, because I was starting to doubt my own sanity. You know, am I expecting too much? Were we expecting too much at this age?
Yes.
And I knew then I would have people beside me to help me at every angle, and that's the way it happened too. So it all started with the society in Halifax.
And then that got you on the path, and then starting appointments and testing, and such a good piece there you mentioned about making sure you have someone with you at your appointments, because it's a lot of information to absorb, and just someone else who's kind of collecting that information and there for support for you guys as well.
Yes, and often I found that I was given so much information, I would go home and forget things. So when Lana was there, she recorded, she just wrote down
notes,
and she would send us notes, and I'd say, oh, was that said? So it was very important that you have another set of ears.
Yes, that's very valuable information just there alone. So the diagnosis then comes in, and then I know that then this begins some changes that you guys begin to see in your life, and I know you had a pretty substantial change at one point when it comes to your home and property that you owned.
Yes, we were living out in the country, had a 75-acre farm which we worked. We raised sheep, And we were there for 37 years. So, and we both had a full-time job beside that.
Wow.
And we were, our children were out of the house by then. But
yes.
and I knew we couldn't cope with
Just
what was
couldn't keep
ahead,
up.
just the workload.
Yes.
And so for the next year, we sold our farm and sold our machinery and livestock and everything. So, so that was a big change. And also then in that year, of course, I was very lucky because Wally accepted his diagnosis.
Okay.
I know some people are in denial, but he was not in denial, so that made it easy for our children and I. And so he was there. He made the phone call to his siblings, and we called everyone.
Okay.
And you know, they were there was disbelief because he was never sick in his life, and you can imagine he was physically and mentally active.
Yes.
So we had no indication he was never sick.
Well, that's another kind of good tip for families. You know, like you said in the beginning, you weren't really sure yourself if this was what you were seeing, but you knew that there were changes. And I think a lot of family members deal with that sort of denial, and certainly for the one who gets the diagnosis as well. So that's something to, it's interesting to hear your take on that, and just something to remember, I think, for people who are kind of experiencing the same sort of thing.
Yes, and also it's better to tell people right in the beginning because you need their support.
Yes.
You cannot be a caregiver at any degree and do it alone. You need to know when you call your siblings that they will speak slower to him and different small things. But it's good to tell people.
Okay, that's another good tip. You have so much valuable information here, Karen. And Marcy Hurdle's watching. She says hi to you. And so you, as time is going, then it took about a year, and then you guys ended up selling your home and your farm that you had lived and worked on for all those years.
Yes.
And then, so then we're at the next part, I'm sure, then where you're starting to, are you then at this point looking for some resources to assist you, or are you sort of just kind of managing this on your own at this point with your family?
No, right from the diagnosis, we started going to forums and to caregivers seminars, anything that was available. There are so many. In Lunenburg County, there are so many wonderful things you can participate in. And like there's a day program that VON provide, and Wally was able to go there 3 days a week, which left me Monday, Wednesday, and Friday to do my thing. And I had assistance with caring for him. So I would suggest coffee and conversation is another thing. And I started going to support groups right away, and that was very valuable because we were caregivers and we were sharing in a very safe environment.
Oh, wonderful.
And we picked up tips during that time. And we did eventually get a wonderful nurse practitioner, and she is giving us the best care. And she's making sure, she said, I'm not worried a bit about Wally. He's getting the best of care, but she said, I am worried about you.
Yes.
So she keeps me on a short leash, and I can call her day or night.
Oh my gosh,
and,
wonderful.
And I just feel, and she's right in my home base. So all of these things that have happened have just reassured me that, you know, I'm not alone. I'm not alone, and I have a lot of resources I could call on.
And I think that is something that people struggle with a lot, is that feeling of aloneness when they are dealing with this. Sometimes people can really isolate themselves, the caregivers who are looking after patients or their loved one, but a patient with Alzheimer's or a loved one with dementia or Alzheimer's, and it can become sort of isolating. So it's really great to hear you talk about taking advantage of these resources and supports that are here in the community.
Yes, and the other thing that I will mention is that a lot of friends of ours said, let me know, just call me when you need help. So in October last year, my daughter-in-law suggested this. She said, why don't you call several couples up and asked them if they would commit to coming over to visit with Wally or taking him out for a drive 1 day a month.
Wonderful.
And I called, we have four sets of friends who I involved.
Yes.
And they do that, and they schedule like the first Monday of the month or the Thursday. And you know something, it gives them happiness to be able to help us.
Oh, I'm sure.
And they can see then what we're going through.
Yes.
And I just find psychologically it's been a wonderful thing to do. And I would encourage you to get others and bring them on board too, because they want to help you. And it might just be an hour, but it's an hour.
Oh, what great. You're just got so many great tips here, Karen. I'm so glad you were able to speak at the breakfast, because these are just such important little tips as someone who's going through the experience and living it, and you've obviously learned and seen what's been beneficial for you. Because as your nurse practitioner mentioned, you know, looking after yourself is really just as important, really, as looking after your loved one who's struggling with Alzheimer's or dementia. So I know you've talked about a few tips that you do with the couple's idea and booking dates ahead of time and the day program. Is there anything else as far as making sure that you have some time for yourself?
Yes, well, of course, I hire Earth Angels, and they're a private home care agency.
Yes.
And they come into the house and take, you know, I don't have to supervise.
Yes.
And they're very proactive, and and Wally loves them, and
wonderful.
I just couldn't be happier with the service that they provide. And the other thing that we still continue a lot of our regular activities, because we go to church every Sunday, and Wally's able to come with me, and I think you know, maintaining that faith portion of our life is important.
Yes, of course.
And the church family is there to help us too.
Yes, so wonderful.
And you know, I just I keep thinking, you know, more about what I have instead of what I don't have, because I think our attitude is so important. You know, I can't dwell on the way our life used to be.
Right.
We used to be away for all winter. We can't do that anymore.
Right.
And I don't want to sit home and feel sorry for myself. I want to get the most out of every day that I have with Wally.
Yes.
And the thing is we don't know the future. It's called life. And you know, it could be something else, take either of us.
Yes.
We don't know.
Right.
So, but I'm not going to waste any energy on being sad. I want to spend every day in joy. And we laugh a lot, and we dance, and he loves music, and you'll find that, you'll find that I've come to love the old classic country, you know.
Funny what you'll come to learn to love.
Willie Nelson,
yes,
and they're always in our house,
and
we'll be dancing around the island to gospel music, because anything that makes him happy makes me happy. And you know, I've committed my life to doing this as long as he needs me. And another thing I will mention is that when we bought our condo, we renovated it, and at the time we put in things which will enable us to live there as we age. So it's good if to do things sooner than later.
Yes.
Because
future planning. Just so you can stay in your home and be comfortable.
Yes. And continuity, and you know, not and predictability is very important for our guys who are looking after.
Yes. Well, oh my gosh, I could stay here all day and talk to Karen, and I've just enjoyed this chat so much, and I think there's been so many valuable lessons in what you've shared with us around how you take care, obviously, of Wally, and as you mentioned, the real love story you guys have within your marriage, and your sentiments on how you're looking at this part of your life is just really beautiful and touching.
Yes.
And sorry.
And
Anyway, sorry. But it's just such a great example. Jane said thank you for sharing your story, and Trina says as well, we're sorry to have had to miss you at the Alzheimer's breakfast this year, but she's so thankful to have heard you. And I just think too, the education piece around what is available for resources, you've obviously reached out to a lot of those in the community and the services here through Earth Angels Home Care to allow you and Wally to still stay in your home and be comfortable, and as you said, live out the rest of your life together.
Yes, and I just am so blessed that our children are so involved, and of course they're heartbroken when they see something happen to their dad. And part of my job is reassuring them and answering phone calls to the children and the grandchildren.
Yes.
And you know, all we can tell them is how things are today, and today they're good. So.
Well, what a wonderful message you have, Karen, and I'm just so thankful that you've had a chance to share this. And how is Wally doing today?
Great.
Good?
Great.
Good.
Evelyn's there, and
yes.
they've already had a dance this morning. And you know, the nice thing is that these people treat Wally normally.
Yes.
They're not afraid. They know
yes.
what he is today, and he's a very gentle person anyway. And he loves having them around, and it's a gift to me.
Oh, wonderful.
When people treat us normally.
Yes, of course.
Just drop in for coffee and come and just say, how are you doing, Wally?
Wonderful.
It's very, you know, don't stay away because you don't understand the disease.
Yes.
You know, just become familiar. And,
wonderful.
yes.
Well, sharing your story is such a gift with all of us, and I can't thank you enough. And
thank you, Jen.
I'm so glad that Earth Angels suggested that we have you on to share your story. And if you guys have any questions for Karen or for Earth Angels Home Care about the services that they provide, obviously for families, please send them along, and we'll be sure to get those answered. Well, thank you again. This was just lovely, and it was so nice to meet you.
Wonderful.
And I enjoyed this, and I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. And I hope you get another dance in maybe later today.
It's my turn.
Thank you so much, and thank you guys for watching and for all your comments.
Have a good day.
Bye-bye.